Fantastic. Hello, everybody. Wonderful to see you here today. Thank you to the wonderful CEO of Long Beach Transit for giving us that opening remarks, and the CEO of APTA for giving those remarks. Right, I'm here, not here. Okay, I don't even need this. Great, perfect. And actually, we have a really strong partnership with Long Beach Transit. They run fantastic service. I know that you guys are probably going to do the water tour really soon, which it's going to be an incredible day. As you can see, I got a little sun yesterday from being out all day. But the deputy CEO of Long Beach Transit is on the Move LA board. So we have a really strong partnership with our local transit agencies with the work that we do. And, you know, a little bit, just to kind of give you a little bit more context on some of the measures that we talked about in the video, but we've actually raised $4 billion every single year in LA County for public infrastructure projects. Thank you. Thank you. It took a lot of work. But in a county where everybody sort of considers us to have a car culture, and we'll talk about that and how we're trying to change that narrative in the story. You know, we were able to convince 67% of voters in 2008, almost 70% of voters in 2016 to vote yes for measures to tax themselves. I know, that's a weird thing to do, to fund public transportation here. In addition to that, we've now passed 2 ballot measures on affordable housing here, because that is a huge issue. It's probably as big. Back in 2008, traffic was the #1 issue in Los Angeles. Now it's affordable housing. And so we were able to pass 2 measures to basically fund affordable housing going forward. And it's really fantastic right now in this sort of environment that the CEO mentioned earlier, that we have these local sources of funding, because when we're seeing the federal government draw back, as we just saw them did a week ago when the Secretary for Transportation was here, we have these local sources of funding to continue to do the work that we need to do, to continue to operate high quality transportation, to continue to build the projects that we want to build throughout the region, which I'll go into in a little bit, and to continue to invest in affordable housing. So it's really it was a decision we made actually the last time, or in 2008, when we knew we couldn't rely on the federal government, to rely on local voters to be able to invest in the things that we as local residents needed. And that's why we went to them. And I would be remiss if I wouldn't talk about how we do some of our work, right? We're a nonprofit organization. We raise funds from foundations, from some of the same sponsors that y'all have for APTA as well. They really help us do our storytelling. And if you really like what I have to say today, well, you can also donate as well at movela.org. All right. So a little bit more storytelling. So this, as you saw in the video, is Denny Zane, the founder of Move LA, passing the torch to me a couple years ago when he said, hey, you know what? I don't want to do all the boring stuff like raising funds and HR and all that stuff. I just want to do the cool policy stuff. Can you please be executive director? And, gung-ho 39-year-old that I was like, sure, I'll do that. But Denny's got this great story. He was the former mayor of Santa Monica. Anybody been to the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica? Yeah? All right, couple people. That was Denny Zane. He did that. That was really his doing when he was the mayor of Santa Monica. And he was driving on Pico Boulevard, so as the lore goes, going east to downtown. And all of a sudden he hits traffic. And he's listening to NPR, the radio, and they say, they have a story about LA Metro. And they say, well, we've got this 40-year investment plan for high-quality transit here, capital projects, but there's no money, literally no money. And he's like, well, that's a problem. We've got 2.5 more million people coming into Los Angeles, so were the projections at the time. So he organized this group to basically come together and try to solve traffic in Los Angeles, and that's what led to our ballot measures. So it really came from this frustration with traffic, as we used to say, mind-numbing traffic, which if you've ever driven around Los Angeles, you'll experience. So, I know you did an icebreaker earlier, but let's do another one. So I want you to... Oh, there we go. All right. I want you to talk to the other neighbor you didn't talk to. So maybe somebody else on another table. And I want you to introduce yourself and share one memorable experience that you had on transit, taking transit. All right? So a couple minutes. Come up with a good idea. I'll tell you my story. I hope you guys had some really good experiences to share about your most memorable time on transit. Where'd my clicker go? Oh, there we are. This is me on our Dress to Impress day for transit. So we launched something called SoCal Transit Week last year. We're going to make it an annual thing. There's one in Northern California to really engage with our membership and with transit riders to create kind of experiences and really create networks with our communities, because transit isn't just about getting you to your destination. It's about the people that you meet along the way. And so I thought, hey, people in Los Angeles is sort of this thing of like, people don't ride to transit to work. And I was like, well, I'm going to get dressed up in my penguin suit and my tuxedo and ride transit. So I did this with the mayor of West Hollywood. We rode the bus down famous Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood. But my most memorable experience, and I've been doing this a lot, is riding with elected officials, particularly those on the board, because oddly enough, some of them aren't riding transit. So I rode with one of the most conservative members of our Metro board, and we had some pretty big, let's say, headlines last year where there was some pretty serious incidents that happened on the transit system. And she basically said, I'll never ride transit alone. I was like, that's a problem. A board member not riding transit. So I invited her. I said, let's go and ride transit together. She's like, Eli, I'll only ride with you. Okay, great. So I met her up at her home. We caught the bus. And as we're getting off the bus, there's a gentleman who was sitting next to us who was listening to our conversation, British accent. He was like, oh yeah, I was listening to your conversation. My partner, my fiance is the bus driver, and she's about to get off her shift, and we're about to go to Vegas to get married. And we're like, what? Hold on a second. It's like the most random thing ever. But yeah, these two, they even, we contacted dispatch and the chief operating officer and like, you got to do something about this. They're about to go get married. But we just thought it was the most incredible thing. And then we got on the train, which was even crazier because this board member loves dogs. Literally every board meeting, she adopts a dog at the meeting. And I swear the door opened, this dog walked in, went on all fours, and just was like, please pet me right in front of her. And I was like, this is perfect. So we had this like incredible, memorable experience that really changed her perception of what public transportation is in the agency that she literally oversees. And, we were able to show her a different side of transit that wasn't all about enforcement, because that's what she wanted to see, by actually just taking her on it. It was a really empowering trip. And so, I like to talk about those memories because, the reason that I do this work isn't for me, it's for my family, right? This is actually us just pretty much yesterday. We had an open streets event right outside of our where we live. We were able to bike around our community with hundreds of thousands. The streets were covered in people on bicycles, walking, taking public transit for the entire day. And I do it for them so that they have a healthier environment, so they have the opportunities to go to jobs that they want to do without having to drive a car. And that's really my why for why I'm doing this work is my wife and my three kids. And probably a lot of you do that too. So here's my second why, and really why I got into this. My dad's a climate scientist, and my mom's a climate activist. And, I grew up in Bermuda. Random fact about me. I used to be a scuba dive instructor, also another random fact about me. So climate was always an issue. The oceans were always an issue for me. And so for me, climate change and addressing climate change with high quality transit, getting people out of their cars and ensuring that we can save the planet, I think is really important. Because, oh yeah. Second play.
Because my professional hero, such my perfect.
I hope you guys know what that movie is from. We need people to basically step up and start acting on climate, right? And we need people to really start prioritizing public transportation because we've driven our place into a spot where, it is driving us, right? We're not only stuck in traffic, but we are driving the climate crisis. And so, that's what we're here to say is like, we need you to step up, right? You guys are in the prime storytelling role to say, we are a solution for our climate. We are a solution for future generations, like my kids. We need you. at Move LA, we're really focused on a really big, bold vision. As I said earlier, we've raised $4 billion on that idea that we need to transition our country, our economy, the region off of fossil fuels. And we see public transportation, more affordable housing near transportation as a key role in that. And we need to move quickly. Like California has these mandates for us to be able to achieve those by certain dates. We're supposed to be carbon neutral. You can see along there, along the timeline, but we have these mandates. By 2035, only zero emission cars are supposed to be sold here in California, right? By 2040, any bus operators here from California, y'all know the mandate, right? Zero emission buses. And for some agencies, for Los Angeles Metro, the deadline is even sooner. So we're accelerating that effort here, and we're working on that. And why public transit? This is a really interesting graph. What you see on the left is if you add up all of the emissions from buildings, commercial, and power, it doesn't even add up to all the emissions that were coming from our transportation emissions, right? Isn't that incredible? So the big polluter, the big source of that pollution is transportation emissions on the right. And if you look at the other graph, so what that shows you in the bottom is the blue, right? That is our mandate to go to all zero emission single passenger vehicles in California, right? By 2035. That's the emissions reductions that we're going to get from that mandate. The red is what we need to produce in emissions reductions from vehicle miles traveled. So it's almost 2.5 times as much. So we need to be getting more people out of their cars instead of just putting people into electric vehicles. So the work that you do, storytelling, creating better customer experience as transit providers, is vital to the mission of what I want to get done, which is provide a safer and cleaner environment for my kids. So something kind of crazy about this region, just so y'all know, because I know who is from Southern California? A couple of people, all right? But a lot of people are not. So there was no rail in Southern California 36 years ago. None, zero. Could not take a rail line. 30 years from now, there's going to be rail everywhere. I mean, this is a map of the potential system that we're going to build out here in Los Angeles. How crazy is that shift in just that amount of time? And I'm just going to go through, and I see my folks from Metro here. This is the part where they'll be happy. But I'm just going to go through some of the projects we're going to open here in LA in the next couple of years. So this is the airport station imminently opening. Finally, we got an airport station at our airport after forever. It's a story. This is the People Mover, which is going to take you in and out of LAX. Who flew into LAX? It's awful, right? Well, LA exit, what the hell is that? I don't know. But this is supposed to actually make it not enjoyable, but at least like a real connection to the airport. This is going to open up hopefully later this year. We are going to have the longest rail line in the entire world. I gave away one of my questions, so I hope you're paying attention. But this is the extension of the Gold Line to the San Bernardino County line. It's incredible, right? We're going to have a line that's going to go all the way to the county line, which in a region that's over 400 square miles, that's pretty crazy. We got the Purple Line extension to Westwood that's going to be opening up. We just toured the station for La Brea a couple days ago with Rick Larson. We've got LA Streetcar is planned to open up in downtown. We've got an extension of the South Bay. We've got the Sepulveda Pass project through the notorious 405. We got the Southeast Gateway line to some of our communities throughout the Southeast area. We are working on an extension of the K line, which is going to go all the way to Hollywood in the Hollywood Bowl. This is Metro, not me. I'm not doing any of this work. Let's see, we got the East Side line. So, all of this is to kind of say, like, we're doing a lot of work here. Or Metro is doing a lot of work here, all of it funded through the transportation measures here. And that work's going to continue regardless of what's happening at the state or the federal level, because we have a plan, we have a local source of funding. So it's just a sort of testament to the ability to do that. And one of the key things, and that's why I rolled through all that, because there's something for everybody. We have this massive county, 10 million people, 400 plus square miles, but every part of the county of Los Angeles is getting a piece of that transportation infrastructure. We've been really pushing for more bus shuttles not only because bus shelters are great for transit riders, but they're great for the mom who's like just walking down the street in a stroller and needs a cool place to chill out. They're great for the grandmother who's going to get groceries and just needs a place to sit because it's a really hot day. So think about it as, we think about it actually as, not only do we think about buses as mobile cooling centers, because they really are, and heating centers, right? Because, when it's a hot day or a cold day, what does the government do? They open up like, a gymnasium, and they're like, hey, come here and just hang out and do nothing. No, like you can get on a bus and be heated or cooled, right? Or you can go to a shelter and be protected from the elements. And so we really need to think about our infrastructure in that way, and a little bit differently. And that's what we're trying to do with public transportation. As I mentioned already, we're trying to shift the culture with premier events like SoCal Transit Week. We do a policy conference in May. Y'all are welcome to come. That's more policy oriented. That's how we got these ballot measures passed. But this is how we build community, and this is how we get people to kind of come together. We did everything from Dress to Impress Day to a group of students from UCLA got on the bus and went and worked out at a local gym, right? Like there was just events for everyone. There was events to go to a bar. There was events to go to a game. There was all kinds of things where we just got people to get together in community and see transit as a community building asset, not just as a way to get to your destination only. And then, of course, everybody's always asking about the Olympics, right? What are you guys going to do for the Olympics? Can Los Angeles be car-free? Because they announced this. Our transit agency announced that we were going to be car-free. Now it's transit first is the language that we're told, but I want to stick with the car-free. And, what will it take to kind of shift this car culture here in Los Angeles? Because we have this unique opportunity here to show the world and show ourselves that we can be different, right? That we aren't the same, Los Angeles that everyone knows. And so we've come up with this cool concept. You'll hear about it a little bit more when I bring up my guest, Jason, of the Olympic Festival Trail. And basically what we did is we looked at the infrastructure we're building because we're really diffuse here. There's a lot of city governments, there's a lot of local things going on, and we're not really so focused on creating seamless connections throughout all of the region because we have 88 cities here. And so what we looked at is hey, can we take the existing infrastructure that we have and be able to connect it all up so that you can take a path where you don't have to use a car at all, clear across the region, across the mountain range from LAX, the moment you get off at LAX, to the Rose Bowl, to the San Fernando Valley, to the venues downtown. And so we're working on this idea. We just signed up the mayor of Los Angeles. We've signed up folks in Long Beach towards this vision of the Olympic Festival Trail. And it's really been taking off, this idea of a linear park. And many of you have it in your communities, right? There's examples. My favorite is the beer line in Milwaukee. Anyone from Milwaukee? Yeah, that's pretty cool. I would totally do that. I want to come visit. So if you want to invite me to speak. And then we are looking at another ballot measure because that's kind of what we do. We've done 5 now. We want to do a 6th one in 2026. This one's going to be about a lot of the highest polluting things that we have right now: locomotives, diesel engines and trucks and buses, ocean-going vessels. It's why you see that lovely haze over the horizon here in the LA region. We want to get rid of that. We want to have the most incredible air here. We have the worst air here. We want the most incredible air. So we're looking at a ballot measure in 2026 that would fund all of the things that are really hard to electrify, right? Things that are really tough to do that are causing a lot of pollution. And then just for y'all to know, we're part of a national network. It's called the National Campaign for Transit Justice. There's dozens of folks just like me in your community. You probably work with many of them that are doing this work, that are trying to not only fight for more resources in Congress, but in local governments. There's a real focus on shifting the funding at our state DOT level to public transportation operations and capital. And so we're here in the fight with you, and we want to be partners with transit agencies to fight for that as riders. So, check out the national campaign. There's some incredible stories there. They just published this really amazing booklet of stories of unionists, labor unionists across the country who are transit advocates, not just building it, but also taking it as well. And we just do a lot of storytelling around that so we can share that with elected officials. So let me give you a couple words of wisdom, and then I'm going to invite up my guest, Jason Weiss. That's why it's, all right. Joke for one. All right. So, I said this at the beginning, transit is more than the destination. It is the people that you meet along the way, right? And I think that was the lesson I hope you learned from our icebreaker, right? Is that, it's that memorable moment, that it's that person you engaged with on transit. I saw, it was this crazy, just random story. I was on the rail just the other day, on the train the other day. Somebody walked in with a shirt with Bermuda on it. I was like, oh my God, yeah. I got, I thought of home, but like it wasn't about my trip. It's about the people that you meet along the way. And I think we need to remember that as storytellers, that's going to be part of the memory that people have. And if it's a bad interaction with a person, that's going to impact if they take transit again. If it's a good interaction, that is also going to impact that. So we need to be aware of that. Second word of advice, listen to your customers, right? Get their feedback and then show the change. I think we see this a lot. You do these like feedback things. I was at one the other day for Culver City Bus. They might want really big things, but a lot of things are kind of pretty small, like clean my elevator, ensure my bus arrives on time, put a light at my bus stop, right? Like very basic stuff. And if you're listening to that and being able to like literally just fix a light for them, that's a game changer with the transit service and the customer experience that you provide. So it's not always about like these big transformative changes like, hey, let's AI the bus. No, like just fix the damn light, right? They want you to get back to basics, right? And especially in a world of limited resources, which I know we all operate in, this is your opportunity to shine with that better service. So, and that's our tendency too in the marketing world, right? It's like, go for the big shiny thing. Last night I was like, oh my God, is this presentation going to be good enough? I looked up, I was like, oh, you can AI a PowerPoint. Let me do that. No, again, like we just want the basics, right? And so let's make sure we focus on that. And then lastly, you are in the business of building community, not just customers. And so, this is what we learned from SoCal Transit Week, and especially now with the current administration, I think we need to focus less on what you can't control and more about what you can control, right? Make sure that your riders, be they immigrants, transgender people with disabilities, feel welcome on our system and can get safely to their destination. And I think that's really critical right now because a lot of people are hurting right now. A lot of people are scared right now. And if you can provide them with that safe transit opportunity, that safe way to get to where they need to go for work or for medical appointment or to go to school, that's going to matter more to them than, and put a bright spot in their day. And that's the business that I think y'all are in.